Hey everyone, this is Kelly from Australia Wide Retreats, and this morning we're going to be interviewing Melissa Duniam about her upcoming Time for You in Tasmania retreat. I'm just having a look at her listing on our site here. It's a 3-day break for women that is all about you. No distractions, no disruptions, so that you come away feeling rested and ready to take the next steps to propel your career, relationships, project or business ventures to the next level with certainty and confidence. This retreat provides time, tools and strategies to start doing things differently in your life so you can start living a meaningful lifestyle with a you first approach. No guilt, no justification. You first. That's a big thing. So let me see if Melissa is in here now. Right. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming in live. And well, your upcoming retreat, I was just reading the description you've got down here with a you first approach. That's a big thing because a lot of people don't put themselves first. But before we get into your amazing retreat, how did you start doing the kind of work that you're doing?
So thanks for having me, firstly, Kelly. We can backtrack as far as 25 years ago. I am in rural far northwest Tassie, so I'm from farming background. I wasn't a farmer, married a farmer. I was fast-tracked and briefly inducted into farm life at a younger age. So for me, it was more about farm and family first for a long time, which is how it is for many women. And there's a stage in our lives where it is all about putting other people first. And whether that is in career, as we move through in maturity, whether it is the marriage, whether it is the business that we're in. So through that process, I definitely was putting people first, and I lost a sense of who I was amidst all of those roles and the labels and the to-dos of every day, I guess. And so for me, it took for quite a long consecutive amount of time. I noticed that I kept asking that question, who am I without all of this other stuff that is keeping me busy? I'd get to the end of the day and I'd go, well, I survived another day, so I suppose I'm doing okay. But I realized that I'd ended up in this perpetual cycle that really wasn't fulfilling my needs. It was just making sure that I was getting through each day, which was quite an unhealthy place to sit. Fast tracking that, it took for quite a significant farm accident for me to literally be sat flat on my ass and have a consecutive amount of time. It ended up nearly 2 years, I guess, that I couldn't fulfill all of those roles and all of the duties that I was used to fulfilling. So I went through what I guess people call a crisis point, an unraveling. But it was also, looking back now, the best part of my life, so that I wasn't distracted by all of those things, to actually work out what do I want, and where am I right now, and how far is that gap. So that's kind of where I started. But for me in Tasmania, knowing how beautiful that our state is, I was having to leave our state to go and do personal and professional development. It's not something in the rural scene for the last 20 years. I mean, things are changing now. That there were conferences or workshops or retreats available to us to actually start doing the work on ourselves, but more so in a holistic sense too, Kelly. So the whole person. Yes, we can develop ourselves and the capacity and capability in certain roles, but if we're still feeling unfulfilled and we have things on our list that we haven't conquered, but we're still busy, just trying to work out how we can divide that and bring ourselves back up onto that list so that we can show up when we are feeling like our life feels on purpose, or we're bringing joy and happiness to it. It drip feeds into every other area of our life as well. So that's kind of my backstory of where I came from and how I got to where I am.
Yeah, yeah. So when we're doing things that we're passionate about, it has a ripple effect on everyone that surrounds us as well. And you're obviously doing what you're passionate about now. So, and you're doing this specifically for women. So why do you do what you do for the females in our life?
Yeah, I think for me, it was more the conversations that I were having were based around self-identity. Whether or not I knew that that's what it was about, it was the awareness of who we are and where we're at. So for me, it was very easy to have those conversations with the women, any woman and men as well. Men are my stage two, Kelly, of coming up, men of the land, and a lot of those patterns and beliefs that kind of sit there. So it's intergenerational, and it's more the having the conversations to shift the perspective of your potential, because people start using not the busy label, but the I am label. And I think what I've recognized is that people get a little bit stuck, and women specifically, oh, I couldn't do that thing because I am so busy, or the family need me, or whatever it is. So really to be able to build that awareness of women of where they think that they're at and where they want to head. If there's a discrepancy there, we need to work out how we can bridge that gap for them. And with women, I was just so passionate because I thought I was the only one that felt the discrepancy. I thought I was the only one that should be doing more, and that will bring the fulfillment that I need. There was no more time in my day for that. But after being open and in that vulnerable state for a couple of years and having those conversations, I started to realize there was a bit of a Me Too movement that was happening. And once I kind of recognized that, it was like, well, we need this holistic approach. So I started back 10 years ago running information evenings and sessions for women, even when it comes to mainstream medicine, to actually see what do we have available to us out there? What resources do we have? What tools do we have? Because what we're being shown can be a little bit different to, it may suit you better to have these other options. But it starts at yourself, asking that question, what do I want? And that's a very hard question for women when they're so busy in the cycle of doing it all. So I wanted to take that time, because by taking that time, I didn't want people to have to hit a break point. I didn't want to break down, burnouts, sat on their butt like I was for a significant amount of time. We want to do that in a resourceful way. We want to do it so that we can work out how can we live a life that is sustainable and one that is obtainable as well, but one that is truly aligned to us, not all of the other things. So, and women are my passion because of that Me Too movement that was happening as well.
So, and people really don't have to break down and burn out and hit rock bottom before they start building themselves back up again. It can be done like now, when you've got the right tools and techniques and guidance, of course, and time for you in Tasmania, your retreat. It sounds perfect, because like you said, there's no distractions there. There's, you're fully focused on yourself and the tools and guidance that you will take people through. So let us know about Time for You in Tasmania, your retreat coming up. That's February, yeah?
It is February, yes. So it is 15th to the 18th of February. So that's a Saturday to a Tuesday. So it is 3 full days dedicated. So it's the intentional time, stepping out of your own environment and out of that chaos, because we can find justifications and reasons why we still have to sit in there.
Yeah.
But by just making that investment in ourselves as well, Kelly, it's a first step. The minute that you make a transaction in yourself, it becomes an honoured investment into yourself. So by making the time and coming across to Tassie, there'll be 3 days that will be all about you. And I guess I like to call it a four-prong approach. So you have the dedicated time here in Tassie, far northwest of Tassie. So I think it's a bit of an unsung hero up here. We don't really get to hear too much about the northwest of Tassie, but where I'm holding the retreat is in the most stunning little coastal village called Sisters Beach. It's on a national park as well. So when I come back to the four-prong approach, there's the dedicated time, but there's the time in nature to reconnect back to yourself, nurture yourself. And in the national park, we have the whole coast beach line. So we are at the beach. We have the national park walk as well, which is, I call it the trail of transformation, because it does push us out of our comfort zones a little bit. It's only a couple of hours, but there is a bit of intensity in there. But once you kind of experience where we're going, nothing else matters. Another part that I bring in, Kelly, is what I call the personalized blueprint. So when we kind of go on a journey of self-discovery or self-awareness, we kind of need to know where we're at, where we're heading, and what it's going to take to get there. So I am a certified eDisc practitioner, and this is an instrument that it's been known for 20 odd years in the space, mostly in corporate and business. I've pulled that tool back in to help women really fast track that journey of that self-awareness. The thing I love about this tool, it's not a personality profile. The thing with personalities is that we can mask and we can model, and as women, we are very good at adapting to suit the environment. I see this as, well, it reads both subconscious and conscious behaviors. And for us to kind of have that awareness, it helps us to access different areas of ourselves that we need to get to where we want to go, whether we're starting a business or we're moving into a new career, have a project, or we have a transition in our life that we're ready to access. But we're just asking that question, how do I do that? Or what is it going to take to get there? This tool really helps us. So each woman that attends the retreat, they'll have that unpack done, but they also get an hour and a half time with me after the retreat so that we can really go through all the details. It's a 20-page report, so it's huge, extremely helpful. With the self-identity concept, there's different layers to this that we will go through, but my key signature part that we do is that we have the conversations, we open up perspective, we show different insights, but my most favorite part is a day where we get to work alongside horses. So we get to integrate the practices and these new tools rather than just being taught something and going home. You take it back and you implement it in whatever way you like. We actually get to practice it in our vulnerability, in our exposed versions, but in such a safe and beautiful way without judgment as well. Because when we kind of want to make changes in our life, we do question, what will other people think? And how am I going to practice this without being uncomfortable? The horses are a perfect part to that. And not to mention animals, again, in nature, they help us regulate, whether we just sit there and we pat the horses. But there are intentional activities that I integrate that match alongside the blueprint awareness through the eDisc model. And then we'll head into the horse arena. So we come out for a full day. I live on a farm at an equestrian centre. So I bring the women up. It's 10 minutes from the stay. We come up and have a day, and it's such a great way for us to raise the roof basically and lift that ceiling, to see what we are capable of and the boundary conditions that we'd put in our lives for ourselves, to realize there's access to so much more of myself I didn't even realize.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about the national park and a trail, 2 hours. Is this with the horses? Is it a horse riding trail?
So with the horses, the activities are all non-riding. So they are designed specifically for people who have no experience with horses at all. So when I say it's safe, it's extremely safe, because that is a question that comes up. They're like, oh, I've never been around horses, they scare me. It doesn't matter. The framework that we use is built 100% on safety. I pride myself on our safety standards and our records as well. So when we go out and do the trail, that's actually at the coastal stay where we're staying. And that's just out the back door for a couple of days. It's the most magical place that blows your mind, that not many people are aware exists. And that's what I love about Northwest Tassie.
Yeah, yeah. Get back to the horses again. As a child, I was thrown off a horse, and that scared me. So, and I've been hesitant to hop back on a horse. Our youngest loves the horse riding and everything. She's been through that process. I know she's here now. Hi, sweetheart. Okay. But for me to get back on a horse, I'm really, what would you do for someone like myself, that I love the sound of it all, but the idea of being around horses in such a way, it kind of scares me a little bit.
Well, I can clear that up, because you don't have to be on the back of a horse at all. It's all the ground-based activities that I find some people, it's a repetitive comment that's happening. I've had an experience with horses. So remember what I mentioned earlier about how we can label ourselves of I am, therefore we
Yep.
can't transition. This is a perfect example of how we can move through those belief systems that we have, those things that are holding us back. That's a perfect example of potential what can be for some people, is that I've had this experience, so therefore that is what it is. So we get to dive in a little bit deeper with that. And honestly, Kelly, I've had women that have shown up terrified of animals, full stop. So you can imagine a 500-kilo horse in their presence has been a lot. To say of what the person that turns up into the arena in the morning versus the person that leaves the arena in the afternoon, you ask them and they say, I just can't believe the change in myself. To think that I could actually experience something that made my system go into such a state of uncertainty and unfamiliarity. So therefore I was feeling not safe. But what was happening was that they were putting uncertainty and fear and correlating them in together somehow. So we need to unpack that they are actually two very separate things. And you can still feel the fear, or you can still have the uncertainty, but there are ways that you can navigate this in a resourceful and emotionally intelligent way as well, that you come out the other side transformed. And some women I've had who are actually now on repeat. So I run workshops as well as retreats. Some of my local women in the Northwest start in the workshops specifically with horses for professional development. So we'll talk about business skills and soft skills, life skills. But then when they come to the retreat, they'll say it's just a completely different spectrum, because you're in so deep with the integration work of the unraveling and the repacking. What do I call it? I like to say it's what is it? It's a self-discovery and an uncovery process that kind of happens, and it is really beautiful to see. So back to the worry with the horses, in the way that we approach it, the framework that we use. I say to women, you don't even need to touch a horse if that's how you feel you need to be. But you can guarantee I've not had one by the end of the day that is working alongside the horses as well. So it's a beautiful process.
Nice. And I suppose the fear and uncertainty, unpacking it around the idea of being near a horse, you can use all these techniques alongside fear and uncertainty with relationships, business, confidence. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
So this is why I say this is a holistic professional development. It's the whole person approach, because when you are given a language, when you can articulate something, and when you have tools that you know you can take forward, you can pull them out of your resources at any time. But I think that the most empowerment that comes is women will say, I've seen, say for instance, an example in my life where people just overstep the boundaries, and I don't actually know how to say no. What they've learned alongside the horses, what will happen is that they'll then have this memory imprint of, say the horse, one of my horses is Charlie. They'll have a memory imprint that will happen in their everyday life where somebody's overcrossing the boundary. Insert Charlie. I remember I had that experience with Charlie. The exact same thing was showing up in the arena for me. It was frustrating, but it was like the veil had been lifted. So what did I do with Charlie that I can actually integrate now into my everyday life? And they've said it's transformative for them, because the tools and the language and what it was that they learned to move forward from that, setting a clear boundary. You don't need to be unkind. It's actually kinder to set a boundary. They've found a way that it's worked for them, and now they've anchored into this strength that they have this resource available to them. It's amazing.
Yeah, just pull it out of the bag whenever needed.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
So this beach, the accommodation there, is their private rooms or shared rooms? All private rooms?
All private rooms. I think that's a huge part for women as well, Kelly, when we come away to do the work on ourselves as well, and take that time to start this process, having that space to just do as you wish, that you don't feel like you have to be on and available to everybody all the time. Part of it is taking that dedicated time to yourself, and we give you dedicated time to yourself, because it is a lot. And that integration process too does create a bit of an unraveling for some people, not everybody. So having that space where you can either just go for a walk on the beach, put your feet in the water, in the sand, and just kind of feel the initiation process happening, and reflection of the tools and the insights that you've gained across the 3 days. So it's not just the horses. This happens every day. There's some sort of experience for the women each and every day. And then we'll go into that integration process where that they can just reset and recalibrate and just digest the information that's gone in. So having that private room for themselves, definitely. Another part that I love to include, because in Tasmania it can again feel uncertain of where am I going, how am I going to get there if I come to this retreat. I've organised all of the airport transfers. So we'll pick you up at the major airport if it's Launceston Airport, or our local regional airport's called Burnie Airport, which is in Wynyard. Makes not much sense, but it's Burnie Airport. It's another little city near us that's only 15 minutes away. But we organise all of that so that you don't have to worry about it. You literally pack your bags, get on the plane, and for the next 3 days, absolutely everything's taken care of. We supply all of the meals for the 3 days. So you come in the afternoon on the 15th, and we have a welcome dinner that is probably, that is the first of the Me Too movement that I was talking about. Women just start to have the conversations around food. I love food. And I'm always saying I love food even more if somebody else cooks it for me. So we have somebody come in and make the wholesome meals for us. Where we're located at Sisters Beach, there is a little family cafe that is down there, and I call it a cafe. It's home style meals that will support us the whole time. So we just walk to the cafe, have our breakfast and lunch, and have this dinner at one of the accommodation stays all together on the first night as well. So everything's catered for. We can cater for dietary requirements as well. So that's something that we obviously need to sort out before coming, give these guys a bit of a heads up. And we have a farewell breakfast on the last day, on the 18th as well, because that's a really great place for us to come together and just talk about the biggest key takeaways that we've had, what's next for us as well, because I don't want women to feel like they're just coming to a 3-day retreat and that's all for them. So I'm building a cohort through this, and what I'm noticing is happening is I suggest that the women come without a mate. Of course, if you want to come with a friend, you can, and you can share the expenses, but because of the impact of this particular retreat, I highly suggest it's individuals. So that brings a level of uncertainty in itself. Am I going to get on with anyone? Like, what are the people going to be like? Like the questions that start to happen. So the way that we format this and we frame this, I say I'm the facilitator for the whole 3 days. So I am available to you. But and the way that I frame this for the women is that we just have these pockets where they can go in deep together. And what I notice out the other side of it, they've built these new connections and these new networks that are happening. And again, we have a label of friendships and circles and connections or networks, whether they're segregated to business or personal. But what's happening is we're having women who are in business, or women that are entrepreneurs, women that are starting up, women that are transitioning in careers, whatever that may be for them. They now can draw on the resources of these other women that they have in their life. So we're creating the community. We have a Facebook group that I'm starting to bring the women who have attended the retreats in together so that we can continue resources in there as well. We create a WhatsApp group, and these women are now connecting together without me, which is just so beautiful to watch. And I think that in itself, I originally started these retreats as one-on-ones. So if I reverse back, I had the idea with the accommodation and the horse programs and figuring out how I can put this together. And I won an award for Tassie. So I'm the AgriFutures Rural Women's Award winner for 2023, and initially started one-on-ones. But what I noticed that was happening was these women were missing that cohort, and the power in bringing those women together. So it's a really select small group. I don't do large groups, maximum 12 people at my absolute peak. I like to keep it between 8 and 10. But by having that smaller group, it's so meaningful for them. And yeah, the connection that's built through the cohort, that's probably the most powerful thing that I didn't give Vantage to. So I love watching that happen as well. What else do we have? So coming up for this particular retreat, this one is a little bit different. I have some juicy bonuses. They're actually being announced in a masterclass that I'm running next week. And I've decided to offer this to your group as well, Kelly. So the Australia-wide group retreat, people who are part of your group, they can either jump on the masterclass or they can let me know that they'd like to be in on this retreat, and they actually get these juicy bonuses as well. Now, I'm going to keep one of them for the masterclass. So if they really want to know what that one is, they're going to have to attend the masterclass or even sign up and subscribe if that's what they choose. We include that full behavioral blueprint. We have the horse programs. We are going to a little local gin distillery. Now, it's not about the alcohol, because that's a part that I kind of say is if we can just keep us in a healthy state, healthy, clean eating. But the reason that we head off to the distillery is that we get to listen to the woman who created the distillery and how she navigated uncertainty and made some pretty significant changes in her life to build this beautiful little gin place and whiskey place. So we do have a tasting if that's what you'd like, but it's more about Sarah's story of where she come from, because she was in corporate background, she burnt out. This is another common story that we're hearing of women who lost their identity and lost their way and were so busy in that perpetual cycle that they hit a breaking point. And it took for that breaking point to make a change. So I want to show women that they don't have to get to that point in order to make their breakthrough. And there's one last little juicy luxe that I'm bringing in for the women, because I say it's luxe because it's not something that we prioritize for ourselves as well. And that is, once we have done the Trail of Transformation, so the National Park Walk, they'll come back and they'll have a massage for 60 minutes in the comfort of their own stay as well. So we set up, and it's just a perfect place to just relax after going through the National Park hike as well. So there's another particular bonus that's saved for the masterclass. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one because the bonus inclusions actually bring somebody in to collaborate with me for a certain section as well. And I think that it's going to be such a powerful next level for these women as well. So there's so much that we put in for the 3 days, but we make sure that there's a lot of rest time in that as well.
And how do people sign up for your masterclass?
Yeah, so, well, they can reach out to me. So I don't know whether you want to pop a link on here. I can actually put the link to the masterclass.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Pop it in the comments, yeah, when we're finished, and then people can do it from there, yeah. Another question, sorry, you mentioned earlier about the accommodation stays. So it's not just one house with individual bedrooms.
No.
So how is it set out on Sisters Beach?
This is why I love Sisters Beach. So being the little pocket village that we are, we have accommodation in little sections, and they're side by side to each other. So it is kind of like little Airbnb stays that I've exclusively selected to create that cohort, our own little village. So it's perfect. Okay. And again, using and capitalizing on your networks, because we have our own accommodation down at Sisters Beach as well. I integrate that one in, but I have my networks around us as well. So I just tap into their stays.
Excellent. You've also got down here, just reading your listing, normal price and the price for Australia-wide retreats, that's over $1,000 off if people mention Australia-wide retreats. Thank you so much for this offer. You know, this day and age, saving a bit of cash on the side is always a good thing, for a lot of people. Yeah, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. I mean, I'm so damn passionate about this that I want other women to experience this, and because I absolutely love what you're building for us as well, Kelly. So it's my thank you to you. I guess, for creating this platform and making it available to us too as facilitators. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. No, the more the merrier. Yeah, we're all in this together, and we're all, you know, helping people expand their lives. Yeah, in so many different ways. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap this call up?
Well, we've already got three women who have booked that went on the wait list from the previous retreat as well. So there's a handful left of spots. So sing out. It's the 15th to the 18th. My masterclass is on the 23rd, so next Thursday. If women wanted to hear a little bit more about my conversations and my topics, and I'm giving 3 key insights of things that get in the way for women and potential opportunities to overcome them as well. So it's called the 3 keys to up-level your life without sacrificing everything else.
Oh, nice. Okay. And for people that want to book a ticket, of course, they can go through the Australia Wide Retreats website. But what is your actual website there as well?
Yeah, so my website is leadingrain.com.au, and I can pop that in a second comment below the masterclass. So then there's the 2 options where women can just take a look and see what I'm all about, and have a look around the website and see if it's a fit for them. So
excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today and explaining all of that to us for your beautiful retreat, which is coming up next month. So guys, if you want to grab a ticket or find out more, just touch base with Melissa, and I'm sure she'll tell you, answer any questions that you might need to know, or pop your questions down in the comments below, and we'll both keep an eye on it and give you whatever you might need there. All right, and look forward to her links coming as well as soon as this is finished and available on the Australia Wide Retreats page group. Thank you so much for being here, Melissa.
thank you.
Excellent. It's been great talking to you.
You too.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your day.
I will. Thanks, Kelly.